Here's a copy of the NRA mission statement. Now, if you pause it and read it, see if you can find any backdoor avenue to profit off other companies' manufacture and sale of firearms. Surely everyone knows the NRA themselves don't manufacture firearms, but there is one curious element here that claims that they are in fact a 501c3. Now the 501c3 requirements require that you use the 1023 form, and in the 1023 form it says if exempt status is approved, the application will be open for public inspection, which was revised in 2006 by the Department of Treasury. It also states here that the reports of the financial records to the IRS and the state must be submitted, that is, all the financial transactions. And if large organizations make donations of $25,000 or more, it must be maintained in an office journal or accounting ledger to present to the IRS. So for all of you who believe the NRA is getting millions of dollars of secret donations from big companies and gun manufacturers, consider the fact that all their donations must be reported to the IRS, and those IRS donations must be made publicly available. Now, if any large sums of money made it to the NRA past their normal donations and memberships, then the IRS would have known about it, and if the IRS would have known about it, they would have went public, and if it went public, it would have been on the internet. And it's not on the internet, so you would have to believe that the IRS was part of this conspiracy if you still believe it. It is fun, however, to search the internet for such evidence, because all you get is accusations from all these different people that use other people's accusations as proof. It's really a lot like the search for Bigfoot. Now, because the NRA's financial history is available to the public, it's easy for somebody to make observations like this. But the majority of the audience the media presents this biased information to has a limited ability to get a perspective of the NRA on their own. Now, the problem of that type of reporting on those type of people is that accusations and finger pointing go out, and soon people start to believe that the gun manufacturers are the main source of revenue for the NRA. If, however, somebody desired to get a perspective of that type of money compared to the NRA as a whole, one might, off the top of their head, multiply the number of members times the $35 a year annual fee times the time span, which is 7 years, and get a number to compare to those donations by the gun companies. And yet many others would simply choose not to know. So about $40 million in gun donations to about $735 million in the regular member donations means that about 5% of that money was coming from gun companies. Now, with all of the NRA records publicly available, one has to question the rationale of somebody who actually makes the claim that the gun manufacturers are the main funder of the NRA when their total donations are less than 5%. Now, that $735 million is far from the truth when you consider the fact that the NRA actually has closer to 4 million members than 3 million. And I didn't conclude the NRA affiliates, which includes over 14,000 small groups and clubs. And then on top of that, they have their businesses. The Business Alliance Group enables those members to sell NRA merchandise. With no evidence existing anywhere, and all of that information being publicly available, that the gun manufacturers are the largest contributors to the NRA, it seems ludicrous that anybody can possibly make those accusations. Many, however, continue to argue that if you follow the money, you will see this imaginary trail to the end of their conspiracy. Because of the fact that every single television news source that's available to come through your television is guilty of the definition of propaganda many times per day, each and every day, it's hard for the audience to get a non-biased view of reality. And because the average audience member does not regularly rotate their news source, oftentimes reality can be skewed. Let's just say that you didn't alternate your media source regularly and you were led to believe that the majority of this country wanted stricter gun laws. and then you were presented a graph like this, you would automatically assume that the majority of the people in this country who want stricter gun laws are not represented fairly by those NRA members who do not. So then one would immediately conclude that the NRA is getting some type of very large and unfair funding. Now, your media outlet will never provide you with the publicly available NRA information that proves otherwise, but because of this fact, if anybody claims it, in your eyes it's by default probably not true. Here's another biased news media example that falls under the definition of propaganda. This group claims that 427 gun deaths in just 21 days has happened. Now, if you show some pictures of some people crying and leave it at that without any perspective, a large percentage of your audience will lose their rationality. But what no television media will do is compare that in a perspective to the 144,000 that died in that same 21 period and then show you a chart that gives you perspective. Let us use that same belief philosophy with the concept of NRA lobbying Congress. Look at this chart taken from opensecrets.org. It represents the total in millions annual lobbying from the NRA. Now, there's no question that the NRA lobbies, the Brady campaign lobbies, everybody lobbies, but the question is the perspective of this degree of lobbying upon other lobbying groups. By showing you statistics like this that are in fact true, but not giving you any means of a perspective as compared to the lobbying as a whole, it makes it easy to make outlandish claims such as the NRA owns Congress. Take a look at this perspective of lobbying spenders that you'll never see on the TV news, probably because the TV news owners are probably on this list. Anyways, it puts the less than $3 million total NRA lobbying up next to a lot of other companies in this country. So keep these perspectives in mind the next time you hear somebody make an outlandish claim like the trail of blood leads to the NRA in this country. Now, when you get accusations this far out on a limb, it usually only represents that very extreme left-wing nut group and does not represent the majority of most anti-gun advocates. Take a look at this illustration called the NRA Circle of Blood as it demonstrates the anti-gun extremist beliefs. Okay, this little circle of ovals is an illustration of how the extreme anti-gun advocates see the NRA, the gun manufacturers, gun murders in Congress. And it goes something along the lines like this. Starting at the top where it says new shootings, the oval at the top going clockwise. We have new shootings, then the extremists see the gun sales increase. When the gun sales increase, somehow going around, the NRA profits from these gun sales somehow. And then those profits combined with the illegal money from the gun manufacturer are funneled together to the NRA, bringing us to the bottom oval. And that money is then sent to Congress, who can protect the entire racket. Going around the circle, the NRA now becomes partially responsible for the killings because they keep the motion rolling on this while the Congress protects it and the gun manufacturers fund it. Going around the circle, then the NRA encourages more shootings, and when those shootings happen, it keeps the circle going where you get a run on gun sales, and it goes around and around. Now, as we come around here, let's take a look at the gun sales increase is actually caused from gun purchases due to fear of new legislation caused from media hype, not just simply the new shootings. You can ask people who are in line at a gun store why they're there, and that's why they will tell you they're there. Then we come around to the NRA profits from gun sales. Well, that's actually the gun manufacturers who profit from the gun sales, not the NRA. The NRA does not profit from the sales of guns because they don't make them. Okay, then we can cross out the illegal money from the gun manufacturers because the IRS won't allow that. It's illegal, and all of their records are available to the public. So then we come around and we see the NRA gives profit and illegal money to Congress. Well, actually, they only give legal money to Congress, and it's in the form of lobbying, and that makes them not responsible for the killings at all. And as we come back around, NRA encourages more shootings. Well, that we can just take out because there's no evidence that whatsoever. So if we realign this entire diagram, this one is closer to the truth. Starting from the top left, new shootings cause an increase in gun sales because there's a fear of new legislation caused from the media hype, and it comes down to the fact that gun manufacturers profit from these gun sales. And over to the bottom left, the NRA donated money to the Congress, and then those are lobby funds, and the Congress hopefully votes on what they want to see. Now, personally speaking, I've been watching the gun debate since well before the '94 gun ban with Clinton, and it usually goes something like this. The anti-gun advocate group will always attack with complete misinformation, partial misinformation, or segments of complete truth. The result of this is that the pro-gun advocates will correct the anti-gun advocates' mistake and or present information that proves the trends that were in fact true presented by the anti-gun advocates are not true all the time. Now, this cycle of anti-gun advocate attack and pro-gun advocate defense goes on, and over time the anti-gun group gets more educated and makes more efficient attacks on the pro-gun crowd. As efficient as the anti-gun advocates get at limiting the allowable scope of arguability to match only those favorable statistics, I've always thought of it kind of like a witch hunt. And it always takes me back to this classic Monty Python skit. All you got to do is every time you hear the word witch, you substitute the word gun owner.
There are ways of telling whether she is a witch. Tell me, what do you do with witches? And what do you burn apart from witches? Wood! So, why do witches burn? Because they're made of wood. Good! Oh, yeah. Does a wood sink in water?
No, no.
No, it floats! It floats!
Throw her into the pool!
What also floats in water?
A duck.
Exactly. So, logically,
If she weighs the same as a duck, she's made of wood.
and therefore,
A witch! A witch!